Right now, we have a panel discussion. I invite a good friend of Renosys, Akshay Bajpaee, Head of Commercial Partnerships for the APAC region, to host this event. And as panel speakers, we have Zain Suharwardy, Managing Director of Southeast Asia Commerce Practice, Accenture Interactive, and also Rahul Shukla, Director of Digital and IT Asia at GMG, Royal Sporting House.
I'm not sure what's exciting me more, the fact that I can take off my mask on stage or be amongst all of you. So, fantastic. Thank you for that introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here today, and as we get some more lights on us. Yes, it's wonderful to be here. For those that I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Akshay. I lead the commercial partnerships business for the Asia Pacific region with Adobe. And thank you for joining us in what's intended to be a thought-provoking and insightful session on essentially how the surge in e-commerce will thrive beyond the pandemic. And I realize today that we have both live and virtual viewers with us this afternoon, so I hope all of you and your families are keeping well through these prolonged, strange times. Now, it's a privilege to be moderating this panel. Let me proceed to introduce our speakers once again, even though I know they've kindly already been introduced. We have with us Zain Suharwardy. I hope I said that correct. Yep. Managing Director at Accenture Interactive. And we have with us also Rahul Shukla, Director of Digital and IT with Gulf Marketing Group, GMG. Gents, it's a pleasure to be with you today, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
It's no secret that e-commerce has exploded. You know, if e-commerce wasn't already embedded into our consumer-focused culture, the pandemic literally just cemented it into the foundation of what's become online shopping. Now, due to the lockdown restrictions, the rate of people shopping online, as we all know, has skyrocketed. According to a recent Facebook and Bain report that I came across recently, digital retail in Southeast Asia grew as much as 85% year on year in the region, and is on track to see almost 80% of consumers go online by the end of 2021. So let's kick off with the session with our speakers. Perhaps you can share a little bit more about your backgrounds and what is one major impact you've seen in your businesses since the pandemic started. And Rahul, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Akshay. And afternoon to everyone. I think very interesting sessions and a lot of partners that you have all have spoken. Thanks to RV and the Adobe team for putting this together. So I come from the both consulting and the retail background. First 10 years I spent with the companies like Deloitte and all that, and the past 10, 11 years with the retailer, IKEA and Dairy Farm and some of the known retailers. I think one of the fundamental shift that has happened is bridging what we have observed, that we need to bridge the gap between our merchandise that we are selling and the consumers. We used to think that people will come and shop in your store, and then pandemic came and everybody disappeared. All right, so we didn't know what to do. The only way to sort of like solve that problem is bridge that gap. And where you go is by being online, go into the e-commerce, go to the marketplaces. How do you make sure that your product reaches to your consumers in a fastest way, seamless way, most effective way, and an experience that they can get the experience. So that's in, I think that is what we have been doing and solving that problem. Yeah.
Great. Zain?
Perfect. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I think, Rahul, you've covered majority of the aspect of brands, right? I'll give my view on this. Is I've been fortunate, I would say, to be part of this e-commerce journey in Southeast Asia for the last 10 years. I started this back in 2011 when Zalora and Lazada were formed. So I was part of the founding team for Zalora and then moved to Lazada. So, it's been a journey for me in terms of, being those people in the beginning 10 years ago, telling both the sellers, the brands, and the customers about e-commerce. And I think the fundamental shift that we've seen 2015 onwards, e-commerce started growing. But in the last 2 years, COVID and people getting locked down in their houses just was this catalyst event that has led to massive surge across the board, whether it's commerce, whether it's payments. And for brands, I think if you were asking, what is the main structural shift, which I feel is that they are taking e-commerce seriously now. It was always there for a lot of brands, and it was just a tick mark for the next board meeting to say, oh, we have an e-commerce portal, we sell online. And now the conversations are about how do we scale this? How do we build an end-to-end process? Our supply chain, our technology, our talent, our people. How do we make sure that the experience is at the heart of sales? Because this will remain a core part of business going forward. So I think that's been a good structural change, and we're seeing massive opportunities in the industry as a result.
Yeah, look, both of you point to the obvious observation that it's evident that the pandemic has really pushed people online at an aggressive pace and continues to do so. It is forecasted that there will be 350 million digital consumers in Southeast Asia at the end of 2021, compared to the 310 million that we saw at the end of last year. So, Zain, let's start with you on this next one. Why is online shopping essentially becoming unstoppable? What's changed?
So I'll refer to probably the same numbers that you're referring to, and I have them written down over here because these numbers are a bit difficult to keep track of. They change every couple of months now. So Facebook Bain comes out with one report, and then Google Temasek comes out with another one, and it's a bit difficult to. So if I were to, why is online shopping becoming unstoppable, and what has changed? I think, in my honest opinion, that the biggest fundamental shift has been COVID. But the fact that Southeast Asia has always been on this growth spurt, and it's been led by the Lazadas, the Shoppies of the world, and now you have people like Adobe and Hula and all these buy now, pay later elements coming in, which is creating a bigger economy for shoppers to go and buy what they want. And that's good. And as a result of that, what you see is that, as per the same numbers, right, about 80% of Southeast Asian population and about 440 million people in this region are now digitally savvy. Out of those 450, about 350 million made a purchase at least once in the last year. And if you talk to these consumers, they are going to continue making these purchases. So the best example is something I saw yesterday night. So Lazada 1111, they gave away a $1 million condo. The guy who won that condo is a 75-year-old man. And he started shopping online in the last 6 months. So, that sort of, shows you what's been happening here.
Definitely. And Rahul, from your vantage point, what's driving online shopping?
I think the numbers speak for itself. If you look at the 2018 to 2019, I think the e-commerce globally, the business was around about 1.2 trillion. It was growing at the 300 billion year by year. But the 19 to 20, if you look at that shift, that was over 1.5 trillion. 5 times, 400 over odd times percentage, if you look at that. The shift is one, absolutely, as Zain said, is the COVID. This pandemic has taught a way for us to expand. And again, this is expanding the opportunities as well. This opportunity is not for just the merchants or the retailers, it's for everybody. So it's just growing exponentially. Everybody now knows how to do the business. You can go get to online and put up your products, but most important thing is the experience. How do you bring people to the experience? Because everybody is looking forward to that in a safe way, in a seamless way. And I think that's what is taking place in the world. And it is going to be unstoppable. D2C will come. We're only talking about B2C, but I think the D2C will come and that will grow. So all of that is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Yeah.
The word that you really mentioned there that is, if I can underline any of it, is experience. The experience is one that a lot of brands are reimagining because they have to, given the shifts that the pandemic have inculcated. I mean, based on that same report that you mentioned, Zain, 4 out of 5 people shopping online in Southeast Asia said they would continue to do so even post-pandemic and once the restrictions are lifted. But we know these trends are not unique to only Southeast Asia. There was another report that I came across that, where a survey with global data even found that more than a fourth of consumers in India agreed that they prefer online channel over physical channels. So you can already see with consumer tastes, consumer preferences changing, that has to incur changes from a brand level and how they're really providing that experience to their customers. So let's get a bit more deeper into that. And Rahul, we can start with you. What happens then to post-pandemic e-commerce? And how are you, from GLG GMG's perspective, actually managing that?
So again, as I said, I think going back to my first point, right? The post-pandemic, the biggest challenge was your customer. And if you recall, as Zain was mentioning, it used to be a board talk. There wasn't any focused about how do you acquire a digital customer. Nobody was experiencing that. People had a very simple way of acquiring people coming to shop, and that becomes my customer. But how do you acquire a digital customer? How do you put focus on that? Those things were missing. And these have become an absolute focus. Now, while one of that happening from a brand perspective, it has also made some questions, and it has opened questions about the IT or the digital ecosystem that every organization has. Are you ready? It has exposed various infrastructure issues, very basic, but a lot of it. You are not ready. How do you scale? Whatever that you are adopting, is it sustainable for your business? Is your investment justified? And a lot of these questions are coming up, and that each requires a very thoughtful approach. And that's where us as a brand or like retailers, we all busy with and require, and it merits a lot of thoughtful processes to adhere to that.
Zain?
Yep. So I think continuing towards this, right, I don't think things will slow down. And I think if you look at data and numbers, the trend is going to continue to grow, right? And these numbers are growing. The next generation of users will be omnipresent, and they start, the journey of shopping or the journey of anything starts online. So brands need to be pretty much everywhere, and the experience will matter, and the entire journey will matter. I think you're seeing step changes in new industries evolving as well, right? So health tech, for example, had always been there. Education online had always been there, but none of us used it. In the last year, and I'm sure all of us can resonate, right? We've all had a multiple bunch of teleconsults with doctors. We've had medicines being delivered to our house. I put my daughter over the summer just to keep her busy into an online coding class, right? And she's enjoying that, and I'll probably continue doing that. And these will be the next industries or the next opportunities which will come in. Infrastructure, last mile delivery, warehousing will remain at the heart of things. And I think the question that I talk to clients about as well is, and brands obviously become a core component of that, is that if you want to build technology infrastructure, if you want us to deliver your parcels, if you want us to pick and pack and ship them for you, if you want X amount of payments to be done, you need to start making decisions today, because you can't just come up to us 6 months down the road and say, I want all of this and I want it by tomorrow, right? And it doesn't happen that way. So planning needs to be part of, I think, because the trend will continue to grow, and I think the time to plan probably is right now if you aren't at that level of acceleration.
Let me drill a little bit deeper into that, into actually something both of you alluded to in terms of the planning, but also at a board level, what you mentioned, Rahul.
Yeah.
And this is a bit going off our script, because in all of these kind of talks that so many of us have attended across the past 18, 20 months, all virtual, one of the common challenges that's still cited is getting that board level alignment with all the different cross-functional stakeholders. And that's still the case in spite of what's happened and in spite of the trends and the data showcasing otherwise. How do you guys, both from a brand level but also from an advisory level, actually ensure that alignment is happening, it's effective, and the message that this is here to stay? I mean, how do you really drive that buy-in?
Yeah. So I think everyone, even the board, there is an awareness and there is a maturity, right? So both of them, that has to go hand in hand. What happens is that board needs to aware in the age of crisis, what exactly is the opportunity, and they need that needs to be played out very clearly. This is where the growth is. This is how the growth in terms of the brand, merchandise, or the like retailers, where they are moving, and you steer them towards that. At the same time, you also commit to certain things, because as Zain said, maybe the various different tech. You can look at the tomorrow's future is going to be the tech companies, Amazons, or maybe even the Reliance, or whichever the companies that we look at. The way they are growing, you put across very strong viewpoints that, okay, fine, what everyone's doing and where we need to go. And this is a paradigm shift. Yes, they had been the old school of thoughts, and we need to put forward quite a lot of use cases, and they commit to that. And again, I think the board is not naive. They have been understanding it, and they know that this is the opportunity, and they need to grab it. If it's not, it's going to be lost, or someone else will take it. So there are no choices. Also, frankly speaking, there are no choices. So I think people are aware of that.
Yeah, well said. Zain?
So, no, totally agree with everything. I think to the question particularly on what do we advise our clients, right? I think the last 2 years, the conversations have become slightly easier to be able to sell your point of view. But at the same time, we have a chicken and egg problem, right? Because all these brands, 90+% of their business was offline. And yes, they want to move online, but they don't have money. They don't have the cash to be able to do that, right? In the last 2 years, I've had to renegotiate payment terms with a lot of the big retail brands. I've gotten phone calls from their chairman in the sense that we will pay you, but just be a bit delayed, right? And at the same time, I'm having a conversation. I'm like, you know what? You need to invest in your e-commerce, and you need to put X amount of money. So I think the board knows this now, and I think they're trying to look for the right decision making, and they want to get into a sense of urgency to do these things. I think what we, and all of us here are, somewhat or the other in the space of technology and building, those CapEx infrastructures for them. I think for us to win in this scenario would be how much flexibility can we give to these clients, and how do we build a longer term relationship with them, which is, yes, commercially centered, but also longer term in nature. And I think that will probably be a win-win because the demand is there and the need is there. We just need to stitch it together in the best, maybe wallet-friendly way possible.
Absolutely. And you alluded to technology. I mean, most of the e-commerce platforms today use their platforms to form virtuous cycles, both to leverage big data, their user base, and really ensuring that they're providing that kind of personalized experience to the user. Bit of a shameless plug from Adobe. This is exactly where Adobe Commerce is doing particularly well. Whereby we're not only being recognized as a leader in digital commerce by the Gartner Magic Quadrant for the 5th consecutive year, but our latest updates, just announced recently, ensures that we're not only catering with live search using Adobe Sensei, our ML and AI platform, but also catering to B2B with our latest product recommendations feature. So when it comes to technology, one of the major challenges that we know is being able to really find that balance between what the brand wants and what the board wants versus what are the latest technologies that are out there. How do each of you either advise or own or plan to be in a way that is really striking that balance well? And Zain, maybe we can kick off with you.
Sure. I think from a technology aspect, there's 2 elements to it, right? I think before technology, you need to weigh in on what the business strategy is. What do you want to extract out of the technology you want to build, right? If you're a retailer, what is your core product? What is your assortment? What is it today? What is it going to be 2 years from now? My thinking and the way we advise clients is that technology is like building a house, and you only build it once. You don't go and build one every couple of years, right? So you need to plan a little bit in terms of what your outlook is, what your business plans are, how much of your revenue you want to shift digitally, and then there's a commercial strategy, there's a marketing strategy, and that links into your technology strategy. At the same time, the core basic fundamentals of transactional platforms are built. And then you need to be aware of times in terms of, if you look at today's world, Q-commerce and 1-hour delivery slots is becoming the new thing. Social commerce is becoming the new thing. Having all these different payment options and the ability to integrate with them. So I think it's a broader topic, but I would feel that brands which have a clear foresight in terms of what they want to achieve through the digital strategy should be the first conversation rather than what technology they should be using.
In the past 2-3 years, the one obvious thing that we have experienced is that the brand used to be the driver. This is what we want to do. You go to the physical store, you open it, the store looks very nice, and then you put up the merchandise. As opposed to be doing an online and e-commerce business, it is very digitally led. And this is where the digital team and the digital savvy team, the platform team comes, need to commit to certain things, balancing what you want to do. Yes, you want to do yesterday, but that's not possible. Because a thoughtful process needs to go in. As in, we said, your LMS, your omni inventory, and your order management system. These all are fundamental ingredients for any strong online system, an e-commerce system. If that is not there, whatever that you promise to your brand is going to break. So let's make sure, I think these are the fundamental things that get set up. Your channels are set up, your headless approach, if you are starting, if you have been there in the monolith world, how you go and set up your headless world. Those are the fundamental things that organization needs to think about. Make sure you have an answer for that, and then present it to the brands. That yes, your approach to go online or go to marketplace or go to super app has to follow this approach. And yes, this is very, very critical and very, very important for every organization to think about. And last point to add, I think the partners like here, you need to approach. As a brand, I would speak that, yes, we need to consult them, we need to approach them, and they seek the guidance because they are in the industry. And that's very important.
Indeed. I mean, the feedback from our partners, including Renosis, is that obviously work has tripled. And to your point, Zain, it's just made the conversations a lot easier to be able to drive a lot of these investments and this kind of change management internally and externally. We are entering, if not already entered, a world called Fidgetal. And this is not something that I coined, this is something that McKinsey has coined. It is physical and digital at the same time, where there's not a physical or neither a digital world in retail, but rather a completely connected one. So with that, if I can ask the both of you, what is one game-changing prediction about online shopping post-pandemic? And Rahul, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah. So I think online shopping is going to be everywhere. You saw that somebody, or maybe you have already started live streaming. Live streaming shopping is going to be extremely, extremely relevant. And every brand needs to be there. As quickly as you are, the better, because you have tons of customers who are untouched, and you need to procure them, and you need to secure them. And because securing digital customers is going to be the most expensive way for the brand. So I would think that, yes, the investment towards that is very critical, it's very important.
Absolutely. I think all of the things that we've spoken about today, right? Using data for personalized experiences, touchless payments, touchless commerce, things like instant gratification are becoming at core of mind, right? People want something and they want it now. And offline shopping was that way, that you're in a mall and you feel like buying something, you buy a pair of shoes, you buy something and you're out with it. That element is now moving into commerce as people expect all those goods to be with them as fast as possible. I feel one of the core things which will happen in the next 4 or 5 years, and people are already thinking about, is how the urban infrastructure of cities will change to get parcels to people. There will be a step change way in which parcel movement happens, because there's the carbon footprint element, and then there is the efficiency element and the lack of people element, that if you're going to see a 3x increase in number of parcels, you can't do it this way. So we were doing, and I don't have the picture of that, but it's really cool. We've done a thought leadership of what the next 10 years of e-commerce would look like. The one slide that I loved was, I don't know whether Amazon has done it, but I found pictures of it online, right? So we all heard about drone deliveries, and your food will come through drones or your packages will come through drones. But has anyone ever thought about a floating warehouse? I don't know how I'll share it with you guys, but I'll share it. So there was an image about a blip in the sky, and it's like a warehouse where it's like the aliens have finally arrived, right? So you have a UFO sort of a thing floating in your area, and it is equipped with those 20-30% of the goods which sell all the time. And the drones go up, get loaded with the product, they come down, deliver it, then they go back up. And that blip can move from, let's say, Marina Bay Sands to now Orchard, because majority of the orders are going there, and the drones go with it, and then they come down. So it is those crazy ideas which people are experimenting with, and I think, yeah, that would probably be the future.
I'm seeing scenes of Back to the Future a little bit, maybe some Star Wars in there, maybe some Star Trek. It's crazy because it is indeed what we thought all these inventions and ideas of the future is literally now as we're seeing it. A prediction from my end is just, and much more simpler than that one, I think is just seeing a lot of non-traditional industries starting to go and operate online. I think it was Volvo that mentioned that by the end of 2030, they want to have all their cars be sold online, and only online, which is crazy to even think about. But fascinating insights, and that brings us sort of the culmination of our panel session today. I want to thank the both of you for your time, and again for sharing all this great wisdom around sort of the future of online shopping. I'm not sure how we are on time, but if we have time, we can entertain 1 to 2 questions. Cool, fantastic. I got the thumbs up. So any questions either from the audience and or if they're being taken online? Please don't go all at once. Yep.
When we look at social selling and live streaming, is there a cap on, in your opinion, is there a cap of how much someone would spend to kind of a live stream? We see a lot of beauty products being sold, they're $10, $20, $30, $40, and the basket size might get up to maybe $180, but would you sell a TV in live streaming, $1,500, $1,800?
Well, in my opinion, I think everything can be sold online. I've experienced people buying house online, $1.5 million in Singapore, right? So that has happened, and that's for the truth, because in the pandemic, the transactions that happened were of that value and were sold on the streaming. So to answer your question, I think there is no cap to that.
Yeah,
It's about the experience. Do I get the right thing at the right time when there's a right opportunity? And that's the crux of the thing. It's available and people will buy.
I think, yeah, availability, the offer, what you want, when you get it, how quickly can you get it. And I agree, house selling is one thing, but I think if you meet a lot of people in Singapore today who've recently moved here, a lot of people are moving into houses and they've signed lease which they haven't even seen, right? And they've seen it virtually through an online video, and that's how decisions are being made. So I think part of us, the human behavior has been forced to change, because we would naturally have taken maybe another 10 years to move there. The social commerce element to me is a great phenomena of all these videos and how you sell things. I feel it's a developing story. It will definitely be a big story. But that element of being able to converse to buy, or being able to have a frictionless, your supply chain linked to your social commerce, to be able to click real-time inventory, I think those things are being worked upon, but it's definitely a huge phenomena. I think all of us are aware that TikTok is massively moving into that space. Facebook Shops is a phenomena which is doing well in the US, and it's going to come into Southeast Asia. So all these things are going to drastically change commerce.
I just wanted to add one thing, that soon augmented reality, not soon, basically it's already playing, but augmented reality is going to play a big role in all of this, which is about the availability and which is about bringing things close to you, the customers. Be it IKEA, be it Nike, and we are experiencing all of that. They're really tapping on it. And I think every brand has to put a lot of focus on that.
On that note, just the recent announcement with Facebook, sorry, not Facebook, Meta, and their new experiences of bring the workplace into a virtual environment. There talks of how brands can even get into that, so that now you can even start purchasing whilst in a completely digital environment, which is just mind-boggling, to be honest. But no, great question. Thanks, Matt, for asking. Any other questions in the audience? Going once, going twice. All right. Thanks again, guys, for the insightful sharing, and thank you to the Renosis team. Well done in getting this organized. I was told RV earlier today. I was speaking with my leadership last week, and we're unsure as to whether there's any Meet Magento event globally currently being run physically. So that's something that I will certainly check in on, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of the first few, if not the first. So congratulations for putting this on, and thanks for the opportunity. Have a wonderful afternoon, guys.